You ever get a letter in the mail that's so ridiculous, so absolutely off the wall, that at first you think it has to be a prank? Yeah, that was me standing on my porch holding this thick envelope from an HOA. I didn't even belong to being told my dogs were banned. And I owed them over $1,200 in fines. Thing is, I don't live in an HOA. I never signed anything. I never agreed to any rules, and my property was built decades before that little suburban community behind me even existed. But that didn't stop them from coming after me like I was their newest prisoner. Let me back up for a second. I live in Pennsylvania, kind of a rural township, outside a bigger city, quiet, wooded, peaceful. Or it used to be. I've got two Dobermans and a German Shepherd. They're big, sure, but they're sweet, loyal, and smart. I trained them myself. They're my family. Back in 2011, the woods behind my home were cleared out and turned into one of those cookie-cutter developments. You know the kind, same beige siding, tiny lawns, 5 different models, copy-pasted 50 times. That's when the HOA moved in. All those new homes had deed restrictions, covenants, whatever you want to call them. My land didn't. Now, fast forward to 2012. My house was pushing 80 years old and falling apart. Pipes groaned like ghosts, wiring from the Cold War, insulation that might as well have been newspaper. So I tore it down and built something new. Just a few yards over, technically closer to that new road the developer put in. Still, my land still outside the HOA boundary, but it put me within sniffing distance of their turf. Apparently, that's all they needed. Last year, the HOA decided that so-called aggressive breeds were no longer allowed in the neighborhood, not just for new residents, anyone within immediate vicinity. I got a letter saying my dogs were in violation and they were fining me $100 a week. I laughed, tossed it in the trash. Next week, another letter. Week after that, certified mail. Now it's 3 months later, and they're saying I owe $200 and counting. And here's the kicker. They're threatening to put a lien on my house. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a guy who wanted some space, some peace, and a place for my dogs to run. But I know enough to know this stinks. So I did some digging. Turns out, the law firm backing the HOA specializes in, get this, forced sales. As in, they go after properties near HOA developments, try to get the deeds retroactively changed, push liens, and force the owners to sell to developers. It's shady as hell. So I called in reinforcements. My cousin and my brother, both veterans, both with concealed carry permits. They stayed at my house while I worked, just in case someone tried something stupid. I wasn't being paranoid. Someone threw raw steaks into my yard. That's not some neighborhood kid being dumb. That's a threat. Poison next time, who knows? One night, my brother says he saw a car slow roll past the property twice. Windows tinted, engine low. Didn't stop, just cruised and kept going. We logged the time, reported it to the local non-emergency line, but honestly, nothing came of it. We didn't want to stir the pot too much, but we were done being quiet. Eventually, I met with two lawyers from a respected firm. One knew property law, the other dealt with liens and debt collections. They sat me down and explained something that chilled me more than anything the HOA had done so far. In Pennsylvania, there's a clause in the law that allows HOAs to intervene on matters affecting the planned community. Emphasis on affecting. Not inside, not owned by, just affecting. So they could argue that my dogs, by barking, existing, or even just walking near their streets, were affecting their insurance rates or their peace and quiet. That's their angle. It doesn't mean they'd win in court, but it means they can drag me through litigation long enough to make me miserable. The legal version of death by 1,000 paper cuts. The attorneys told me, don't respond. Don't give them an inch. Keep your house occupied. Don't apply for any permits. Don't finish the basement inspection. Don't even build a damn patio. They said if I try to make any improvements, the HOA might pressure the township to deny my permits, stall me, bury me in code reviews. It was a game of attrition. But here's where it gets good. About 2 weeks later, my lawyers get a sudden email from the HOA's law firm, signed by the senior partner, no less. Turns out they'd messed up big time. Apparently, when the builder laid out the road between my land and the new development, the township claimed it, not the HOA. But nobody told the HOA. They'd spent 3 years maintaining that road, filling potholes, trimming bushes, assuming it was theirs. And because my new house sat near that road, they assumed I was theirs too. Even worse, the builder had lumped all the properties mine included into one filing when they did the environmental report. That meant my land, which was never under deed restriction, got grouped in with the HOA homes by mistake. No separate designation, no exceptions noted. The whole thing was a paper disaster. Then came the bombshell. The drainage pits I was required to build on my property and my neighbors, totally unnecessary. The builder should have constructed a retention pond for the whole development, but skipped it to save money. So instead, the township pushed that responsibility onto me, buried it in a one-time agreement that was never even filed properly. The HOA thought I was part of the plan. The builder thought I was a loophole. And I was just standing here with my dogs wondering what the hell happened. The HOA's lawyer admitted in writing that they'd overstepped. They blamed the builder, the township, and the county records. My lawyers drafted a letter basically telling them in legalese to go pound sand. But you know what stuck with me the most? It wasn't just the money or the fines or the legal threats. It was how easily someone can try to claim control over your home, your life based on assumptions and paper trails you never agreed to. All it takes is one spreadsheet entry, one misfiled form, and suddenly you're fighting to keep what was always yours. They say home is where the heart is, but if you're not careful, it's also where lawyers think they can plant a flag. So yeah, this time I won. The lien was dropped, the fines evaporated, the HOA backed off. But it left a scar. Now, I keep every receipt, every email, every permit. I've got a fireproof box, just for housing documents I never thought I'd need to defend myself with. And I'm still waiting Because once someone's tried to grab your land once, you never really stop looking over your shoulder. Now, let me ask you something. Should HOAs have any authority over properties outside their actual boundaries? Should someone be fined for dogs that never set foot on HOA land? Or was this just a messy misunderstanding that got out of hand? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to hear what you think, especially if you've ever dealt with an HOA like this. Share the video if you think this kind of overreach needs to be talked about more. And don't forget to hit that like button. It helps more than you know. And hey, hug your dogs today. They're not the problem.